this exercise, I'm just using a little bit of cheese. Again, you can use any treat that you want or any reward system, but I'm using a little bit of cheese, and when I'm letting him lick it, as I'm trying to get him to do what he wants, I'm using the actual cheese as a marker, which means that when his butt hits the ground, I'm going to give him the reward. Until then, you can see he's licking it, he's trying to get a little piece from it, he's nibbling at the cheese in between my fingers, but I'm not giving it to him yet. I'm just letting him taste it to know that it's there. The actual giving of the treat will be the reward once the butt hits the ground. Now for this, I need him in a standing position. So I'm going to bring him forward a little bit just for the sake of this exercise. I'm letting him taste it, and I'm going to slowly lift it over his head so that he has to look up. And as his head looks up, you'll notice his butt will follow. So here we go. Boom, perfect. And again, we saw that in the beginning, he wasn't quite sure what I was asking of him. He backed up. But as soon as he started to take a couple of steps back, and I started to lift the treat higher and higher, his butt had no choice but to fall backwards. Good job, Jackie. When you do it at home, 3 to 5 minutes of sit, stand, sit, stand. If you could do that 3 to 5 minutes a day, then what you're going to see is after a week or so, your dog is going to be great. So again, we're bringing him forward, lifting the treat over his head while he's still licking it towards the sky until he has no choice but to have gravity take it off his hands. He's going to sit down. So come on, forward. Then we sit. Good boy. Good boy. Now, when it comes to sit, timing is everything. So when his butt, like I said, when his butt hits that ground, that's when I want to give him that treat. Dogs have about a 3-second memory when it comes to different behaviors, new behaviors. So if you ask him to sit and he sits, but you don't give him the treat right away, he's not going to know what you're asking for. He's going to look at whatever behavior he was doing that got him the treat. So if he sat down and I didn't give him the treat and then he stood up and then I gave him the treat, that's going to let him know that when I want him to sit down, his job is to stand up. Do you see the dilemma there? So the moment that his butt hits that ground, we want to give him that treat. We want to give him that reward. Another thing you'll notice is that I'm not actually saying the word sit right now. When I give him the treat, in the beginning, I'm just luring. As time goes on, again, 3 to 5 minutes per day for maybe a week, you'll start to notice that he starts to understand your body language. He'll start to understand that if you lift your hand a certain way, that means sit down. And that's what we want. Dogs communicate primarily, about 70%, through body language. So the words aren't necessarily as important as what you're doing. So one of the key elements, at least for me, is to start the training off process without words. After about a week or two, once I'm starting to see that he's starting to get the body language, then I'll start throwing in the word every single time that I ask him to sit down. But again, that's why I want to start off with just our body language first, and we'll add the words second. Another quick tip that I like is that I will start off, when I do start saying the command, I'm going to start off with a really low voice, saying sit, or something of that sort. For a lot of my dogs, what I'll do is I'll even whisper the word. And that's because I want them to know that if I ever say the word loud, that intensity means that it's an emergency and you need to stop what you're doing and come back and sit down. So, to recap, we want to find a treat that works for you. So that treat could either be a dog treat, it could be food, it could be your praise, love, and attention, or it can be a toy or something of that sort. Whatever you find motivates your dog the best, that's what you want to utilize. Also, when it comes to treats, we're going to start off every single behavior. Every time that butt hits the ground, we're popping a treat in that mouth. Every time the butt hits the ground, we're popping a treat in the mouth. Again, a lot of people will see that the dog starts to become dependent on it. They're not actually performing the behavior unless you have a treat. So in order to combat that, what we're going to do is, after a couple of weeks, after we see that he's starting to get it really well, then we'll start to phase out the treats. We'll give a treat every other time, and then every 2 times, and then every 3 times, and slowly but surely, we're building out the amount of times that it takes in between treats so that the dog knows that it's gonna get a reward, it just doesn't know when. Another key thing to note is don't be afraid to take a step back. So if you start weaning off the treats and you're giving it to him every 2 or 3 times, but you start to see that he's not responding, he's not sitting down right away, it's okay to go back to giving him a treat every single time and then working our way. If you get to the point where you're only giving him a treat every 5 or 6 times that his butt hits the ground, but then we start to see that he stops sitting down and he starts to stand more often, then we're knowing that he's letting us know that he doesn't quite get it yet. So it's okay to go back to every other time. And if we find that every other time still isn't working, he's still standing up instead of sitting down, then we'll go back to every single time. So don't be afraid to go backwards and move back a step if you need to, because as I always tell everyone, dogs are not robots. We can't just put a chip in them and download these behaviors. It has to be something that they learn, something that we build over time. And as we all know, progress is not a linear transgression. It's not going to go in a straight line. Sometimes you're going to have downward slopes. Sometimes you're going to have spirals. And you have to be prepared to take a step back and break it down incrementally into baby steps for them. Thanks for watching this video on how to teach your dog to sit politely on cue. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please let me know in the comments below. Also, please smash that like button, and don't forget to click that red subscribe button. Join me on this journey of some minor dog training where I teach you how to train yourself to better train your dogs.